This is Written on the Edge. I'm Vance Bastion here with my co-host, S.A. Baz Collins.
Hello.
And we're really glad you're here with us. Our guest today is Laury A. Egan. Laury is a prolific author. She's written young adult and adult fiction in multiple genres, including comedy, mystery, psychological suspense, and poetry. And many of her works seem to include the messy realism of romance. Living on the northern coast of New Jersey, she is also a fine arts photographer and a former book designer. Laury, welcome to the show.
Hello there, both of you guys. Thank you for having me on.
Our extreme pleasure. So where did the passion to create come from? I mean, you're an artist in multiple ways.
Well, when I was very young, we lived in a beautiful place with a forest behind and the ocean in front of us, the Atlantic Ocean, and there was a bay down below, Lower Hudson Bay. So I spent a lot of time in the woods and down by the beach. And as a result, because I was an only child and we didn't have a lot of relatives nearby or many friends, because we lived a little bit out of town, I didn't have too much to entertain me except for myself. My mother was an artist and she worked all day in her studio with the door closed very pointedly. And my father was a builder. So as a result, I wound up trying to figure out something to deal with my day. And writing seemed to be a really close fit for me because I was very much of sort of an observer kid, sort of solitary. So I started with poetry when I was 7.
Wow.
And then I wrote my first novel, started when I was 12, and then some short stories in high school. So I really was very serious about my writing right at the very beginning of my life. So
yeah, you had the bug early.
Yeah, I was going to say, a 7-year-old writing poetry. I could see like the teenage angst driving poetry, but you did it before that.
I didn't have teenage angst.
What was that poetry like?
Well, actually, I was sitting in the bathtub when it happened because, and all of a sudden, this poem came to me, and I yelled for my mother to bring me a paper and pencil, and she did, thinking I was off my rocker. And then I wrote 4 stanzas of poetry, and then she was sure I was off my rocker.
Oh.
So that was rather my interesting start to my writing career, was in a bathtub.
Well, the muse strikes were the muse strikes.
That's right. So we've got 2 of your novels to talk about today. In January, Wave in D Minor came out. What can you tell us about it? And can you hold it up?
Sure can.
Yay!
You can see it. This is, I got to design the cover for this. This is a stock photo, but I really love it when I can combine my book design background with my writing. That really feels comfortable to me. So this book really gets the turmoil and the churn of the story very well. It really captures it.
Excellent.
So tell us about that turmoil. What's the plot?
Okay, well, this is sort of an interesting one. And Baz, who I believe you were classically trained as a singer, might have particular interest in. It's about a young woman, Leslie Chase, who's a composer. And she has sort of been living in New York City and struggling financially. Her parents are gone and she's estranged from her brother. And she's working on an opera about the relationships between Vita Sackville West, Virginia Woolf, and Violet Trefusis. And she has acquired a patron who has given her a grant as well as use of his main house on the Atlantic Ocean during the winter. So lots of blizzards and a lot of atmosphere. And the house is a real player in the book. She meets a very handsome young Finnish man, Matti, who is rather troubled, and she becomes enmeshed with him and realizes he's got a very enigmatic relationship with her patron. Then as she's working on this opera, and boy, did I have fun doing this, because I got to write the lyrics for this opera, at least a few of them.
Nice.
I did. It's not heavy with them, but I had read a lot of Virginia Woolf and Vita Sackville West and the letters and to each other. And as a result, I was trying to sort of pick up the same feel as their style, but I also was trying to keep it so that a singer could really sing them, because, ending in a lot of consonants or hard sounds can be
Right.
difficult.
Unless you're doing
So
German.
I had a ball writing the lyrics. There aren't a lot of them, but I had fun. At any rate, three opera singers come to visit, and one of them,
As they
Sasha,
do.
begins to, yeah, as they do, because they didn't have any place else to go to mooch off of. So they come to visit, and one of them, Sasha, a very attractive Russian-born mezzo-soprano, begins to flirt with her, with Leslie. And Leslie had watched her mother, or discovered her mother in a rather obvious sexual pose with a woman when Leslie was young. And this had been sort of a traumatic event for her that she had been chewing over for many years. And her own sexual orientation has been sort of ambivalent. So this produces some anxiety, but a lot of interest and attraction to Sasha at the same time. And then as things start to compress, the singers leave, Sasha's going to come back, but then things get really, really tight. And the psychological suspense part of the novel really crescendos. And then we find out some very interesting relationship situations between her patron, Mati, and herself. So this is very much a Patricia Highsmith kind of style book, as is Doublecrossed, but Doublecrossed is probably more psychological suspense. This has got a lot of literary stuff in it, because it's also about the joys and the pains of being a creative person, and dealing with the need to be by oneself versus having, some kind of social relationship. So that is very much a part of this book as well. And just the whole compositional thing. You do not have to be an opera person to enjoy this book. And then let me make that clear. And there are probably only two of us, right, Beth?
Well, it's funny because many people have the conception that when you do opera, that it's all, it's so structured. It's such a structured and really classical venue of art. I mean, there are certain things and certain processes you go through as a vocalist or as an instrumentalist to hone your craft, and because it is so regimented, people tend to think that that's how the people in opera are, but they are some of the most wackiest
Oh,
people
absolutely.
on the planet. They're so passionate about what they do that their lives are just, when you see like Mozart, or you see something about Tchaikovsky, these people have really intense, passionate lives.
They do, and so do the
And
singers. Yeah, I've
yeah.
known quite a few of them. In fact, I photographed the voyage at the Metropolitan Opera with my friend
Oh,
Tatiana Troyanos
lovely.
in the lead role. And I've got to meet Philip Glass at his home and sell to him. So I've been a photographer at the Opera Company of Philadelphia, and I work with Placido Domingo also at the Kennedy Center and the Met for one of his charities. So, I've gotten to know some of the singers, and that's been a real pleasure, plus being a Met subscriber for 30 years. So
There you go.
I got a little of my passion out in this book, I
There
think.
you go. There you go. Good, great to put it to use. That's all
Yeah.
I can say.
Right. Yeah, the other aspect of your novel that caught me is there's also an echo of generational stuff that needs to be addressed in Leslie's life.
Do you mean with her parents?
Yeah, her mother specifically, and then she's actually writing about that kind of relationship as well,
Yeah.
and one
Yeah.
finds her in this house.
Right, because her mother was married to her father, obviously, at that time when she
Sure.
had this affair with a woman, and when it first happened, it was very upsetting for her. But as time went by, and particularly as she lived in New York City and became more cosmopolitan, this faded. But her fascination with that old memory was probably the inspiration for writing about Virginia Woolf and Vita Sackville West, both of whom were married.
Mhm.
And as you probably know, Vita Sackville West's husband was gay and had many affairs, although they were more sexual than emotional. So, and of course, Virginia Woolf was also married. So this, in a sense, there are some parallel situations here between the opera, Leslie's life, and the singers that she's writing about. I mean, the writers that she's writing the opera about. Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
Anything else
What
you want
time
folks?
period does this take place, if I can ask that?
Oh boy, you're gonna ask me that. I think it's a few years ago. I'm gonna guess around
Oh,
2000.
so it's contemporary. Okay.
Yeah, it's relatively contemporary. Yeah. And so, I pretty much get rid of cell phones because I hate them anyway, but they really ruin plots.
You and Baz both.
She just that's sort of, not something she's dealing with. So some of the instant communication that we're dealing with these days don't exist in this so much.
Well, and when artists are creating, they tend to shut those things off, get them
Yes.
away, because
Mhm.
you need that, as we say in the write-up of your book, the solitariness that you have to have in
Mhm.
order to create. Even if you're doing it within an opera company, you're still so focused on what you're doing. You can be in a room full of people and still have that need of yourself in order to pull off what you need to do. So
Mhm.
it's a very, very interesting craft.
Yes.
Moving on to your second novel, Doublecrossed, just came out this month, April.
Yes. There is this one.
Did you work on
Yeah,
that cover as well?
Pardon?
Did you do that cover as well?
I did the cover design, but one of my photography students who's really good, she did the cover at my request because she lives in South Jersey, but she's right on the water. And this was early June when I needed this, and there weren't many sailboats around here that were moored, and I had to have one without the sails up. So the poor thing had to go out, I don't know how many times to get this. And I
Oh,
think you could say the cover is a bit ironic in the sense that it's very cheerful and bright, but the book is very much a noir study, and so that it's a little authorial humor, I think.
oh no! When I see a cover like that, my mind goes to all of the horror movies and psychological thrillers that take place on boats, and whether there's a shark down there or a killer in the boat, my mind immediately twisted that picture. So well done. What should folks know about this novel?
Well, as I said, this is a very much in the Patricia Highsmith mode. This is a case where you start out with the main character, who is Alexandra Wyatt. And my question on the back of the cover, rather, is, ever dream of finding the perfect lover? And when Alexandra meets Marnie Hardwick, Alex is thrilled, and she's really excited about this new woman in her life. And even though she's being cautious, they just fit perfectly. There are no arguments. Everything is so smooth. What starts out as a date winds up being a weekend, and they are just perfect together. And she has always been a very solitary person, which you're going to find out more why in the novel. I don't want to reveal that. And as a result, she's still being cautious because her mother was very much worried about maintaining privacy, particularly about finances, because Alex has a fair amount of money, which she does not tell Marnie at all. Anyway, Marnie decides that they should buy a house together because their apartments are really small. So she takes her for a drive in her car, and they wander around in an area that's sort of like central New Jersey. The farm areas, the horse country, and they find this crazy house. This is a big Tudor on 3 acres of very dense pines, and the house has got a big turret on one side, and Marnie is immediately captivated and wants to call the real estate agent. And Alex is not so sure because they've only known each other for a few weeks. But Marnie goes ahead, the realtor comes, and Marnie falls in love with the outside and inside, and then so does Alex. So Alex reasons, well, what could go wrong? Because even if I lose a few $1,000s, if the relationship doesn't work, I can afford that. Though she hasn't told Marnie anything about her finances. So they buy the house, and everything is going just peachy keen until the problems start arising, and Marnie starts showing some odd behavior including quite a bit of drinking. So this is really a situation where all of a sudden Alex finds herself realizing she's in a trap. And much like Patricia Highsmith, this is a web that just gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And the house, again, is very much a player until the second part of the book, where it's taking place off of Sandy Hook in the Atlantic Ocean on a sailboat. So this is about the intersection of past and present, and retribution and revenge, all kinds of tangled up stuff going on, a lot of emotion. So this is definitely, it's basically a 3-person or cast, and it's definitely a psychological suspense.
Can I ask what the past tie-in is?
Pardon?
Can I ask what the past tie-in is?
I still can't hear you.
Oh, you said it was definitely about the past.
Yeah, I can't tell you anything about the past. No, and she doesn't catch on for a long while. But then things happen, and she becomes totally ensnared in a plot.
Gotcha.
Excellent. Sounds really, really engaging.
Yeah.
And spooky.
Yeah. All right.
Excellent. Anything else you want folks to know about that book? Or
no, I think not. They're both available in ebook and in paperback. So that's good. No plans for an audio at this point, but they're both ready to go.
I'll get on the horn with Cate Blanchett to get it narrated for you. Okay.
That would be really a good idea. She would be a very good pick. I think she would do a good job.
That's what I was envisioning.
Yeah.
We'll get her on the horn. We'll get her on the horn.
Do it.
Oh, that we could.
I know, right?
I know. I mean, occasionally I think of actors or actresses that could fit a part. I have one book, A Bittersweet Tale, and the guy who came across, I sort of channeled him, and he was a Nick Nolte type, if there ever was one. And his personality, his looks, everything. But I didn't have anybody in mind for either of these two books, but thank you. I think that's a good suggestion.
Well, Cate, there's an option out there for you to start looking into.
Good.
In case you're looking for work.
Yeah. Kate's probably sitting around not doing anything. So,
all right, folks, we at Written on the Edge are proud to introduce you to new media by queer content creators. If you enjoy learning about new artists, please like and subscribe so you get alerts for new episodes. So what's up next for you?
Well, I have what I consider my favorite book coming out now in September. It was going to be July, but I just postponed it a little bit to give us a little more room. This is a book, Once Upon an Island, that is set in St. Croix in 1966, when I was actually there myself with my mother, who was there to do some painting and drawings on the island. And so there are some autobiographical details in this book. The main traumatic parts of it are made up. But I was very attracted to an older Czechoslovakian woman who lived there, who was at the same small hotel, the Pink Fancy. And when I was there, I was also reading Lord of the Flies. And it occurred to me, as I said, I was 16 years old then, and it occurred to me that writing a novel about people on an island would be a really interesting idea. So ever since then, this thing has been sitting in my head, and I finally got the job done. So this book is coming out, and then I believe I have another psychological suspense that may be coming out in the spring because it's been verbally accepted, but the contract is still being worked on. That's The Psychologist Shadow, about a psychologist who has various clients, one of whom may be a stalker.
Ooh.
So, those are the two I've got. And then I have another project, 2 partially linked novellas that are kind of with magical realism, more literary, that is out also under consideration. So I've had a cluster.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
Welcome to Rote Reviews. We are reviewing Heartstopper today. Heartstopper on Netflix. Teens Charlie and Nick discover their unlikely friendship might be something more as they navigate school and young love in this coming-of-age series. A couple things I want to say about it. One, it's delightfully British. I know when we talked about maybe watching this, I was a little squeamish because I'm like, teen drama, no. The fact that it was delightfully British actually softened a lot of that.
Yeah, it was sweet AF.
It was very sweet. So in the series, the two characters I just mentioned, Charlie is out and gay, and had like an issue with it in the past, but it was not part of the series. Like,
yeah, it was typical bullying kind of.
But again, it was in the past. That's not what this show was about. Whereas Harry, and I know this is a bit of a spoiler. I'm sorry, Nick.
I was going to say, who's Harry?
Nick is
Prince Harry?
dealing with suddenly realizing he has feelings for this guy, feelings that go beyond friendship. It's cute. Charlie's core group of friends include a trans girl, which was beautifully done in every way and shape possible.
Played by a trans.
Played by a trans actor, yeah. And I recommend it for everyone because it's short half-hour episodes. It's feel good.
Easily digestible.
And at no point did it ever forget that life was about joy, which is an odd thing. But once you see a show that pulls this off, you realize how many other shows forget about the joy part of life.
Right. I think it's very much in the same, and another British one we've done the review, and I'll put the link up here. It's very much in the same vein as everybody's talking about Jamie. It's got the same kind of vibe and feel to it. There's still some teen drama, but it's not drama with a capital D.
Right.
It's more D with small drama. And really for Charlie, and which by the way, Joe Locke, who plays Charlie, he is a queer identified actor. So it's nice when we have our own playing our own. I really like that. And I know that people say, well, an actor's an actor. Yes, I get that. But having seen so many straight actors play gay, I'd like to see some of our own.
Yeah.
You know, that's just where I am with it, you know. I don't know if it's because I'm getting up in age and I just don't have time for all that cis-het award-winning bullshit anymore, but I like seeing our stories told by our own. But it's really funny. I have to give a little side story here that I thought was hysterical. While I was doing the research for our review episode, I was up looking at what people were saying about it, and there happened to be a article on Queerty that was about the boys, Joe Locke and Kit Connor, who play Charlie and Nick respectively. They were on a morning show with Philip Schofield, who is a presenter in Britain. And at the age of 58, he came out as gay to his wife and daughters. And so it had a very strong resonance for him. And he actually got teared up when he was interviewing them because it was the thing that he would have loved to have had when he was a boy, you know, discovering himself and then teaching himself to hide that. And it was just so refreshing for him to meet Joe and Kit, who, by the way, are 18. They're not 25-year-olds playing teenagers. They are true teenagers. Hello, casting people. Can you get on board with that train? Because we would like to see that. My husband is really tired of 40-year-olds playing 15-year-olds.
You do have to be careful asking teenagers to do sex scenes, though.
No, I don't. Because here's the thing. For people to say that, it's like, bitch, we all know they are doing it. You know, I mean, not every one of them, but it's just like, I'm not saying
you can't do it in the story. I'm saying as professional actors and the legal laws about child work, you have to be careful about asking children. Well, yeah, but
these actors were 18.
I understand. And that worked.
And in England, I think it's 16 is the age.
Age of consent?
Yeah, I think it's 16.
I don't know.
I know for a while it was 16 for straight kids and 18 for gay kids. There was a disparity. And I think that's gone now. I think it's 16. But even so, I mean, they're not doing porn, you know, if at most they're just cuddling and kissing and that kind of thing. You know?
That is true.
So, and you know, here's the other thing too, you know, because I don't care, even if you had a staid, quiet life, you still, as a teenager, go through those hormonal changes and shit rages. You know what I mean? And I don't see, when I watch a lot of these things, and I know that Heartstopper is a sweet story. It's intended to be sweet. It's intended to lift the heart rather than try to make it struggle to find its happiness. It really doesn't struggle much. I mean, let's just be clear about that. It is a drama romance, so the romance, it's heavy on the romance. There is some pushback, but it's not something insurmountable that our two main characters can't overcome. I also love that you had an Asian teen and a trans teen they were collectively friends before the trans character transitioned or started the transition and had to go from a boys' school to a girls' school. And I like that was part of the story too. And it was about these four friends who were very close, and they were kind of an outsider group. Nick wasn't really a part of it. It was actually the three.
Isaac was the fourth of that group.
Yeah, was the fourth of that group. So and in fact, in Nick and Charlie's discovery and dating, that's one of the things that Charlie's core group has to struggle with. How do we make Nick fit? And can we make Nick fit? And right, Isaac has the big problem with it.
Because Nick is the star of the rugby team, so they are automatically seeing Jock and not a person.
Yeah. It's really interesting how some things are totally universal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. You could set this in America and it would be kind of the same story, because
except
those
it wouldn't
things
be rugby, but...
No, well, I don't know. There are rugby clubs here in America. I don't know. It doesn't have the prominence that it does in Britain, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was well produced. I thought it was light. It was it's great if you want to sit and watch something, over a lunch meal on your phone. If you're at work and you want to watch something light while you're eating your lunch at work, there's nothing that's going to be NSFW about it. So it's a lovely little 8-part story. And as Van said, it's easily digestible. It lifts the heart. It gives you hope. And in our dark, troubled times that we're all eking our way through and clawing our way through, it's kind of a nice thing to have, to have those kinds of stories.
I would like to add one more way you could watch this. Watch this with straight family members who are just wondering what the world could be like. This is how the world could be.
And Charlie has a wonderful pivotal moment. It's instructional, but it's not, I am beating you down with queer problems and you must learn. Yeah. It's where Nick begins to see some of the stuff that Charlie struggles with in being openly queer. And he says, but you shouldn't have to feel this. And Charlie's like, it just is. I have to live with this. And this is something you need to be aware of if this is going to mean something to us, Right. And I think that is also instructional for, your family members and friends who are allies or, want to understand your queer life more. You're right. It's a perfect way to kind of get them warmed up to something that has a wonderful message. And, you see, I think one of the best sequences is when Nick finally tells his mother that he thinks he's bisexual.
Yeah.
And she has this wonderful moment. And evidently in real life, while they were filming that, Olivia was so impressed with Kit's performance that the tears that she has just came because she was so into the moment that he drove it and she was there for him, So I think it's a wonderful touch. It just shows that everybody was in on trying to make this thing work,
Yeah.
So.
Ratings?
Mine are 5s across the board. No big surprise. It's just a lovely, lovely little story. I did see several queens out on the reviews when I was doing the research for this thing, and I saw a bunch of queens going back and forth of whether Joe played Charlie or played Nick, and if Kit played Charlie or Nick. I'm like, bitches, just look it up on IMDb. They'll tell you. They
And
were going back and forth in the comments, and I'm like, this is not even an argument. Stop it.
no, there's a very easy way to get that answer.
I know. It's like, hello. Ask Siri or Alexa or Cortana, whoever you have on your phone. They'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I put these queens were just going back and forth, back and forth. Now I saw and I'm like, oh my God, really? We're gonna have drama over this?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just think it's a wonderful thing. So
Remember what we said during Tangerine? Some people create drama for the sake of the adrenaline.
Right, exactly. It's like, that was totally, and I'll put the link up for Tangerine here. But it's just like, oh my God, really?
Yeah. So my numbers, overall production, I gave it a 5. It was beautifully produced. There was some serious thought going on. And it was, like I said, it explored joy. Script, screenplay, 5 for all the same reasons. Sound, lighting, score, 5. It fit, it worked. Everything was well lit. And art direction, costuming, 5. And here's a little thing I want you to watch. I don't know exactly when they started production on this, but the school's colors are Ukrainian blue and yellow. And
yeah, I noticed that too.
The umbrella that Nick steals from Charlie is Ukrainian blue and yellow. And those colors keep coming back into the production. And like I said, I don't know if that had any relation to the rest of Europe whatsoever, but I noticed it because of today's current events. And I thought, sneaky. I like it. Casting, 5. Everybody was exactly right for this cast. Directing, 5. The director knew how to make this story tell, and he knew when to let the actors be the actors. Queer themes presented, 5. We have a gay teen, we have a bi teen, we have a trans teen, we have an Asian teen, we have Isaac. I still don't know what his role is exactly. But parents that you believe, teachers that you believe, beautiful queer themes all around. There's bullying. There's a moment where Nick actually hits the internet and he's like, what's my life going to be like if I come out? What can I expect? And he runs the gamut of bad and good.
And he even has a confrontation with his fellow teammates.
Yes.
That gives him that taste of what it's like to push back.
Exactly. Which means, if you were paying attention, I gave it 5 across the board for a teen drama. I want this date to be noted in history.
If that doesn't get you to watch it, I don't know what will be.
I would like this date noted in history, please.
Right. Mark it on your calendars. Oh, sorry. That's old school. Mark it on your calendar.
I'm like, where did you find a pen?
I always have one. You know what? I picked this up. Oh. That was even better. I picked this habit up from watching Seth Meyers doing a closer look. He has a pencil that he sometimes picks up and uses, and I went, that's kind of a neat little gimmick. I kind of like that.
Apple Pencil. That's the only pen on my desk right now.
Oh, you modern kid, you.
Yeah, nobody believes that. All right, you heard it here, folks. Heartstoppers, a thing to watch. Put it into your nightly routine. If you do the brain cleanse at the end of the night just to give yourself something light and refreshing, this is that show.
Yep.
And
if you have more time,
episodes.
go watch everybody that's talking about Jamie, because that's also another one. It's in the same vein. So.
True, though that's a film, not a series.
Yeah. That's why I said if you have more time.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, everybody.
All right, kids. That's it for this one. Remember to keep watching those movies, keep making those memories, share it with your friends and family, and tell them what we're doing here. If they're looking for queer content to seek out, and if they're not sure if they want to spend the time or the money on it, we're trying to provide that to people. We're doing the Gaylord's work. So I don't know why I came up with that. I was trying to do the Kathleen Madigan thing, but it just didn't come out right. Apologies to Kathleen Madigan.
And to Gaylord, because Gaylord didn't want us to do that work.
Well, yeah. There's that too.
All right, everybody.
Unless it's Gaylord Fokker.
True, fair. All right, keep watching, keep listening, keep enjoying that popcorn. Come back soon.
Hey everybody. Welcome back to the show. I know you thought that we were done, but we're not. We're continuing with our new segment, What Are We On About? And Vance, what are we on about for you?
I've had kind of a busy week, so I've only got two things to share.
Okay.
The new song that I've added to my workout playlist is About Damn Time by Lizzo,
Excellent.
because we've been waiting for a new song from her for a while, and it's fun. And what am I watching? We recently started watching Julia on HBO Max, and we
How
just
is
hit
that?
the. I love it.
Okay.
I didn't know that I would love it. I didn't think I would love it. I was worried that the ghost of Miss Julia Child wouldn't love it because she didn't like Julie and Julia.
Yeah.
But I love it. The series is about how Julia Child and her husband got the show produced. So every episode is all about her scramble, one, to get the show even like accepted by her local network. But then after that, the episodes are about her setting up and getting ready to film the black and white episode. So the HBO Max stuff is all about the pre stuff. And the minute the director is giving the 3, 2, 1 countdown, and that episode, the HBO Max episode ends, is when you would flip over and watch the black and white original episode that she had filmed, that they were talking about how she got there. Really cool behind the scenes stuff. I really love it. The bread episode is where her show was first, where the network in San Francisco first bought her show from the network in Boston. It was the first time this little public network had a show purchased. And so Julia and her producer went out to San Francisco, where we'd find out she's known James Beard, and he took her on a big old gay trip around San Francisco, including to a gay bar. And we watched Miss Julia Child first have a moment of terror, feeling like she would be recognized, but then really realized that these people loved her as much. And then she jumped into it, and she even got up and sang with a drag queen who was dressed as her. I have no idea how historically accurate any of that is, though the friendship between Julia and James was documented. But the show is lovely, and I'm almost ashamed at how much I'm enjoying watching a show about preparing a cooking show.
You heard it here first. Vance has Food Network angst.
Something. What about you?
All right. So for me, what I'm on about, I am actually reading a book by a previous guest we've had on our show a number of times. He also took part in a roundtable discussion with several authors, Dr. Redfern John Barrett.
Ooh, nice.
He's got a new book coming out, and it is called Proud Pink Sky. And it's kind of like a pseudo alt history story where in the breakup of Germany at the end of the war, they created this gay ghetto area in Berlin, and all of the homosexuals and the queers and everybody kind of live in this area. And it has some myths about it from the rest of the populace who think what they think about it and the perceptions. And so it's a really interesting story. I kind of like it because I gave him my alt history book and he loved it. So now he gave me his. So I'm reading it now. I'm getting into that. So definitely enjoying it. So when that's available, people should definitely check it out. And we will have Redford John Barrett on our show in August. So I'm looking forward to that. All right. So that's what I'm reading. What I am watching right now, I'm watching a lot of 80s movies over again. I'm still in that 80s phase. I just got to the point where I realized there were a lot of really cool movies in the 80s that we don't make anymore. We don't make those kinds of films anymore. And yet a lot of them are film classics, and one of them is Young Sherlock Holmes, which is what I'm listening to. A sidebar note, the score written by Bruce Boughton is a wonderful score, and I tend to write to scores and stuff, so it's been pulling on my let's get to writing kind of strings, so starting those creative juices going. But the side note that I want to share about it is that this score was not available for people to buy. I actually had a bidding war on eBay for the audio sessions that were put onto CD. And I got into a bidding war with one person, and it's the most expensive CD I ever bought. It was $269
Oh my
for
God.
this CD, but it's the recording mix downs from you can hear, the Bruce going, and then you hear, so you hear the ticks going in, you hear all that stuff, you hear the communication from the recording booth, but you get the pieces, and then you get all these alternates that would never appear on an album. So for me, it was worth it because I have a piece of that film history that is not readily available to people. Now, I have seen at Comic-Con, they now have bootlegs, not of that specific recording set, but of an album of the main tracks from the film. So you can find that now. And I think now they might even be legit. They might not be bootlegs. They might be produced by 20th Century or whoever did it, Universal or Paramount. I think it's Paramount. So whoever they work with for audio stuff, I think it's done that way. But yeah, so I've been listening to Young Sherlock Holmes, my very expensive CD. So yeah, that's what I'm listening to. So that's what I'm on about. Who won the week for you this week?
So you were teasing me about cooking shows. My husband came to me with a TikTok video of some guy who created the world's crispiest fried fish fry.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I've seen it.
So I'm going to claim that I won the week because I converted it to gluten-free using gluten-free beer and flours.
Yay!
And it came across so crispy. He was raving about it to everyone. He posted it to Facebook. My husband's on a Facebook group called Bears in the Kitchen. He posted it to them. Thank you.
Well, if you ever wanted to do a cooking show, you got the title right there.
No, I can't steal that title. It's not my Facebook group. Nor am I a bear. Mine would be like Dumbass in the Kitchen. I think that would sell.
Faking it in the kitchen.
Recipe conversions by Ben Sebastian.
right. On the fly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So who won the week for me? It's been a toss-up. I want to say, obviously, the people of Ukraine who are still fighting for their democracy. I'm always going to be thinking about them. And I also think about a lot of the Russian YouTubers who've been affected by this whole thing. They didn't ask for it. Now their lives are thrown in turmoil. They're trying to cope. So I highly recommend people look up Russian YouTubers to talk about their country and their culture. And you really begin a sense of, what is going on for them, and that the government is not the people. And I think that that's an important message to put out there. So,
and yours?
So mine is actually the three people who are from Alabama, Michigan, I think it was and then, I can't remember what district the last guy's from. But they're the three people who are fighting for queer rights in their respective governmental houses. Mallory McKinney, I think, is the name.
Her speech was epic.
Yes, it was epic. There's another one with a gentleman who was in the State House of Alabama who gave a very fiery speech as well. And it's nice that we're getting a narrative that pushes back on the bigotry and the stupid. I mean, this is so stupid. I'm running out of O's and stupid to explain how dumb these arguments are. All of this, grooming and that shit was decided in the 60s and the 70s. We fought that stuff. And now they're trying to put it back in the book. No, bitch, we ain't going to go for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say they won the week because, and I'll put a link to the video that they were on Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell and MSNBC. Jonathan Capehart, who's queer, was guest hosting, and he had these three people on. I will find that clip and I'll put it down in our show notes so people can go see it. These three people are fighting the good fight. They are fighting for the children. They are fighting hate with absolute love and dedication, and they're doing it with a positive focus.
Mhm.
And I think we need more politicians to stand up like this, and we need more parents to stand up to this.
Yes.
You know, they're fighting it on this whole parental thing, and I'm like, bitch, you ain't the only parent in the fucking state.
Mhm.
So, you know, we need more parents to stand up and do this stuff.
Yep.
So that's who won the week for me.
Nice. All right, folks, keep consuming queer content. Vote with your dollars, vote with your eyes, vote with your time. All of those are tracked. Let these big conglomerates know you want stories about us. Look, he let me make it through this time. Take care, everybody.
Watch. If you're a Patreon user, you get to see the blooper of why he said that.
Uh-huh.
So join our Patreon. Support the show. Help keep the lights on.
Please. All right, everybody. We love you. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What social media is the best place for people to connect with you and follow what you're doing?
I'm on Facebook, and I'm also on Twitter. I like Facebook better because I tend to want to write more than Twitter allows. But yeah, Laury A. Egan. If you put me in, I will pop up either place. I also have an Instagram account, but because I'm using a desktop, I have a little more rigidity with using that format.
Right. All right. Any final words of
And
wisdom?
I have a website too, lauryaegan.com.
Yes, actually, and folks, that's how I first found Laurie's information. So the website's perfect.
Good.
Any final words of wisdom?
No, I really, this is my second visit, and it's been a pleasure as it was the first time. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you. All right, folks, Written on the Edge is produced by Rogue Ravens Media. For our disclaimers, links to social media, our listen stations, or to sign up as a guest, visit www.rotepodcast.com. If you enjoy learning about new artists, please like and subscribe so you get alerts for new episodes. We'd like to extend a huge thank you to Laury A. Egan for being with us today. Laurie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, pick up Wave in D Minor or Doublecrossed. Sit back and enjoy your psychological read in either artistic composition and loneliness or psychological revenge and betrayal. And we'll talk to you all again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Closing time. The bums rush in melody, dear.